You're listening to Heart to Hearts with Erika M, where midlife isn't a crisis, it's a calling. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and oh so real. Let's talk about it, shall we? Now here's your host, Erika M.
Welcome back. It's me, your host, Erika M, and this is my Heart to Heart with you on my podcast, as you know. So if you're new, welcome in. And if you're coming back, well, welcome back, because it takes a lot, I think. And I'm grateful. So I just want to say that, my loves. And you know the deal. This is where I tell you my story and share with you all of my hope, my strength, and my experiences. And it's a personal thing. So it isn't going to be like all the other podcasts. I will unpack a lot of heavy stuff, man, like seriously. And today it's heavy. Today we're diving into 3 powerful, life-changing pillars. It's God, sobriety, and celibacy. I said it. It's midlife, but it's still about celibacy. And we'll understand it when you sit through this podcast and I sort of weave it all together for you, as I've weaved it all together for myself, because it took a long time to get to where I'm at right this second, which is clarity, right? We're all here trying to unpack our luggage and trying to sift through the bag of rocks that we carried and that we inherited just by nature and just by default. So this is the time where you go ahead and grab your drink, your tea, your coffee, your wine, your cognac. I don't know what time you'll be listening to this. So get your whatever, quote unquote, exhale cocktail, mocktail is, because we need to talk. So let me mentally break myself down a little bit. Emotionally, this is going to be a hot topic. Today is my mother's 3rd year passing away anniversary. And why that's so heavy and loaded for me is because literally she was my biggest abuser, teacher, and heartache. I had to really go through so much because my mother was so broken. I'm 54 years old, for those who haven't been listening. I'm in my midlife. I am a mother. I have an estranged family that I don't speak with, 3 brothers, and a son who is 32 years old, whom I don't speak to, who has chosen not to speak to me after doing some pretty heinous things around his justification and victimhood of where he's at in his own life. And I say that with love, because every one of us have accountability and how we treat each other. And that does not go off the beaten path because it's me. I'm not the victim. I'm not the martyr. I'm certainly not. I have my own stuff and I've done my own things. And I've made my own peace with it and I've done the work. And that's what I'm here to share, my experience with you. So I want to open with blessing my mother in heaven, I hope, and that she may have found some peace. And I know that I have, but it took me a long time to get here. The reason I put God in this is because a lot of people have a problem with that word. Today, people are trying everything but to use that word. But what does that word really mean to you? I don't know what it means to every single person, but I know what it's meant or means to a lot of people and the way that they behave. Because when we have God in our hearts and in our lives, and we're working a spiritual life, meaning one that is by the commandments, more or less, if you're Christian, or by your own set of rules in your religion and or faith. In mine, it's Christianity. In mine, it is not, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I read the Bible. And I think the Bible is a great way to start to understand. And do I fully understand it? No. But I am reading it and I do recite it and I do go back on it and I reflect and I use it in my prayers. And I also want to say that I didn't start off religious, and I certainly am not considering myself a religious person today. I consider myself a spiritual, God-abiding, Jesus-loving woman. And I follow his way because it's the only way that has given me peace and restored my sanity, and that has given me things that I never thought I could have. People have shown me the way of that, and that is what pushed me into the path. And so I'll start, I guess, there, more or less, because my path and my sobriety kind of go hand in hand for me. The end result will be a little bit of everything all combined. But, you know, we start off in midlife going, well, this is it. This is what I've come to be. I'm 50, or let's back it up a little bit. Let's be real. When we turn 40, it's a daunting number. And we're like, shoot, It's 40, it's 40. But we don't take it that hard. Then we get to 45 and then we creep up to 50 and we're like, holy shit, this is 50 and it hits you. I didn't think it would hit me this hard at 54, but it did. It hit me at 54 hardest. I think it was my 50 mark. For others, it's been 50 for a lot of people. It hit me because I was alone. I was in hermit mode for the last, I want to say really for a long time, but really, really in my dark night of the soul for the last 3 years. In and out, because that's what happens when you're in the dark night. And for those of you who don't understand what the dark night of the soul is, it's a spiritual experience where you awaken. There's 4 parts to it, 4 parts that aren't exactly, I haven't studied them. I went through them. And one of the first steps is the awakening. And the awakening happens, you go through it, and it's not an easy thing. You go through this awakening, it's almost like, whoa, what's happening? Who am I? Why am I here? And why did I get here? How did I get here? And you sort of sift through this whole thing of, I'm not happy. I'm miserable. And I'm not talking about dark night of the soul. I lost my job, or my maid quit, or, I fought with my best friend. No, it could definitely trigger something. So on that note, I want to say something because it's super important to get this all in before I forget that, although I'd love to say this in a different way, but I'm going to say it the way I have to say it. So heads up. This podcast isn't medical advice, therapy, or a substitute for professional help. It's raw, it's real, and it's my story. I'm not a doctor, a therapist, or an addiction specialist. I am a woman of strength and experience sharing hard-won truths, and that I certainly will take. So take what resonates and always seek professional help when needed, because healing is real and it's also very, very personal. So this may or may not resonate with you, and leave what doesn't and take what does. What we say in AA, because I am sober, obviously, because of my title. And if you've been listening, you know this. And if you don't, I'm sober. I'm newly sober. I'm nearly 6 months again, proudly. And it's been because it's an evolution of coming back to me, an evolution of discovering, discarding, and excavating myself into a place where I can actually look at myself naked, literally and metaphorically, and ask myself what I've done to myself. And I put myself in a mode of, let's say, a good mother, and who stands back and looks at her 3-year-old daughter and says, why are you so scarred? Where did all these cuts come from? Who did this to you? And I hope I don't crack my voice right now and start getting emotional, because it feels very real to me. And because it's so the way I want you to stop and talk to yourself. If you don't do it all the time, do it sometimes, please. But this is how I started. I stopped. I would look at myself and I would literally go in the mirror and ask myself these questions. Who are you? Who made you? Why? When did you decide that was who you were? Who said that? And then I'd also have the argument. No, that's not me. I'm better than that. And I'd start to cry. And I'm not talking about me being 3 years old. I'm talking as a grown-ass woman. 10:10 on the clock, May 1st, Thursday. I have to say that 2025, because numbers and symbols and everything comes to us through the Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, through the 5th dimension, which is the spiritual realm, into the 3D, which is the tangible realm. And I'm sort of doing that because I want people to know, if I speak in more ways that you don't understand, this is a time for you to start exploring and doing some research and studying and getting into that deep dive of who you are. It's a process. It's a sense of darkness you're going to feel that is unlike anything you've ever felt. The dark night of the soul is, it's profound, it's deep, and it's absolutely debilitating. It's not, like I said, you didn't lose, your favorite car. That's not the dark night of the soul. We're talking about some crucial bowls of transformation and releasing the part of your identity that you're no longer in alignment with, that hasn't been in alignment with, that you inherited. And you go into this place, it's called ego blindness, where you start to really not really have a direction. I mean, when I was there, I felt really lost, really alone. And it wasn't because I was really lost or alone. I was doing things, my day to day kept going until it didn't. And I started doing things like tarot and diving deep. And I wasn't like even considering getting sober at the time. I wasn't even thinking about it because I really wasn't drinking. It was mostly dry. And I was just on my way of just trying to figure it out. But I was doing that was by doing what I always did, working, chasing the dollars, chasing the boy or the man, and not thinking I was um, becoming someone whom I thought I was supposed to be. And until I started drinking again, the things start to go really sideways because I'm a real good dysfunctional, functioning person, if you will. I don't know how else to say that because how do you justify dysfunction with function? Well, the dysfunctional part of me, it's just like saying I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. Well, I could function in my dysfunction. And maybe you will or won't understand or resonate with that, but a lot of us do that. We overperform. We we do it because we have no other way. We've seen it. We've been sort of operating on this fight or flight or fawn, and we give in the way that we know how, or we operate the way we're supposed to get us through the other side, which doesn't get us to the other side. It keeps us stuck. That's the illusion. That's delusional. And until I figured that out, that was 3 years ago when I had a visit from a friend, an ex-boyfriend, whom I, to this day, really changed my life. He was a younger gentleman I dated, and he started the course of my entire really experience because I was doing things out of how would I say this without throwing myself completely under the bus? Ego, selfishness, self-centeredness. I wanted what I wanted and didn't care. I would take what I wanted, and I didn't think I was doing it. That's the crazy part. And all the while, because I thought I'm a good person, I do good things, I don't lie, I don't steal, I don't do this, I'm not like that, I'm like this. And those are the things I used when I was in AA, which always took me back out. I always saw the differences, not the similarities. And if the similarities showed up, well, yeah, it wasn't as big as the differences. So it is a process, and AA is not for everyone. It may not be your solution. You may not even be dealing with an addiction. I bet you are, though. I'll bet if it's not alcohol, it's Xanax. And if it's not Xanax, it's cocaine. And if it's not cocaine, it's all three of them. And if it's not that, it's sex. And if it's not that, it's QVC or shopping or buying or having to be the most and have all this plastic surgery or I don't know, insert whatever, but make sure you've taken a deep dive and look into that. I'm going to say that a lot because I don't want you to pull the wool over your eyes any longer. I wish someone had sat me down and shook my shoulders and said, "You need to wake the fuck up, girl." And not very many people do that. So I'm going to shake you metaphorically right now. Ah! And I'm going to tell you, wake up, please, my darlings. You're worth it. You can do better. You can have your version of God. Although I wish it was my version all the time because Jesus is the answer. But you can have your version of whatever it is you need to get you to the next step because the next step is what you need to take. Getting sober for me started when I was about 16 years old. And God came to me at 26, but let's start at 16. In reflection, I was actively on my spiritual path by 26, but never before then. I was never talking to God, never asking for help, never even prayed. I don't remember that, not once. And I went through quite a bit through my life. I got into some harried stuff at a young age. I lost my virginity at a very tender age, which I shouldn't have. I was 12 years old to a man that was 21 who was my boyfriend at the time. And yeah, I have to pause on that one because that's pretty disgusting. My parents let that happen, by the way. My mother fully knew. And she said, well, age is just a bunch of numbers. But if you know anything about my mom, you'll know that she wasn't the smartest or the most emotionally balanced person you'll ever meet in your life. In fact, to the bitter end, she was nothing but miserable. And I never want to be like that. And when I started to see myself behave like that, I started to say no. So when I was 16, my mother threw me in a rehab. I ended up missing my graduation in my senior year because I was in my senior year. I had to restart my whole senior year, which I had done. I missed graduating with my class. I missed going to the prom, all things I resented, even though I didn't really think I did. I got sober, stayed sober for about 2 years. Fast forward, going into my 20s, I met a boy. I always met boys. and they always mess me up, but it was always the same story. So I'm not even going to mention names. I met a boy, and let me fast forward to my virginity. When I was 12, I met someone I didn't know I was going to meet on the beach in Manhattan Beach, California. That's where we lived. And well, not there, but that's close to where we lived. We lived in Lenox, so it wasn't close, but it was there. Close enough. I'll just say that for the record. Those who know, know. So we would go to the beach all the time. And I had this cute body. I was in puberty at this time. And at that point, this man approached me who I didn't know who he was. And, he definitely used that line, age is just a bunch of numbers, when I told him I was 12. But I was also in a crochet bikini that crisscrossed around my belly, and I had a cute body. Why did my mom let me wear that? I don't know. But then again, look at the girls today at 11, 12, and 13. And we'll talk about that in the celibacy section. But I'm just saying for the record, even though we've outgrown certain things and we think we have, it's gotten worse. So, yeah, that happened to me. And it sort of started this pattern of seeking love through sex, not knowing that I was doing that, but validating it through, well, everyone's doing this. And this is the only way that I didn't even know this. I didn't know that I was using that to feel better. And then I was also drinking and getting high during that, because that's what they would do. These people whom would take advantage of me would do so by giving me these things. And I was then influenced to do that. Little did I know that I had the family gene of alcoholism addiction. And I do. I definitely do. But for me, it was very painful because I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, Bob Anderson. And I did not know that I was an alcoholic until I was thrown in rehab. And I was pretty much held hostage, because I refused to say I was an alcoholic. So I ended up saying I was an alcoholic, coming out, getting sober 2 years. And then I think what ended up, if I can recall exactly how it ended up happening, I ended up meeting Antonio. Antonio Sabato Jr. is my ex-boyfriend and ex-fiance. Yes, it is. And I'm allowed to say that because it's true. And my experience, strength, and hope really revolved around that, because that was my first real guttering, gut wrenching, soul shaking, earth shattering heartbreak. This was the man I thought I was going to be with for the rest of my life. I was 20, 21, 22. Well, I'm sorry. Let's rephrase that. 19, 20, 21 is when we met, and was working in Marina Del Rey at the Mac Club, I believe it was called. And we met. Sorry about that. We met, and it was all over after that. History. It was great. And I'll leave you with that in saying that it was the most painful breakup of my life, but that literally set the tone for all my relationships thereafter. And I was 21 I think 20 or 21 when we broke up. I don't remember the exact dates, you guys. So not only did that break me open and did I get into like a lot of, and I won't get into the gory details of that, but I did remember when I was thinking about this last couple of days, including this in my episode, is that sobriety even then was really bad, because no, I didn't stay sober after I got thrown in the rehab. Of course not. I was young. I was naive. I was not even doing the deal. I didn't even have a God. I knew of God, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so I got sober much later, after Antonio stole and broke my heart. And literally, I got married right after that to someone whom I did not love, someone who was very, very abusive and very much like my mother, who was narcissistic and a huge pathological liar. But, that's neither here nor there, because that's not who I was. It's what I chose in the state that I was when I inherited all these bags of rocks, all these labels that I didn't know I was taking on. Sometimes we don't realize that the families we come into are very toxic, not just dysfunctional, but toxic to the core. And we hold on to them because that's all we have. And I had to hold on to my family because I was not even 18 yet, and I had to live in that. So I was transformed into this person that was nothing but a survivor. And as a survivor, I'm going to tell you, there was not one moment I can look back on and say, wow, when have I truly been happy and at peace with who I am? And I can't tell you once, until I got sober. So in essence, sobriety and relapse are part of my story. And it wasn't because I was defiant about being sober. It was defiant about giving up my power. the power that I had already accumulated to fight off all the demons in my family and the things that had happened to me. So sobriety for me was my medicine. And how dare you take that away from me? That's like, what do I have if I don't have that? It numbed me. It soothed me. It swaddled me, if you will, until it almost destroyed me. And it nearly did. And it isn't something I'm ashamed of anymore, or to speak on a platform and tell you about my story, because it's something I would do openly and givingly to any person that asked me my story. That wasn't with malintent, of course. And those with malintent can leave and go kick rocks with no shoes on, seriously, because I could give two craps. This is not about being judged or sitting here going, oh, I'm not like her. I did all that. And you might. I don't care. Do it. But nearly 30 million adults in the US live with alcoholic use disorder. Did you know that? And then I'm just one of those 30 million. And that's one in every 10. So not only that, I mean, how about the prescription drug misuse? How about Xanax and, Adderall? Or how about fentanyl and how that's killing everyone that's not even trying to kill themselves? I can never say this word, but benzodiazepines is rising over 100% since 1999. 500%. That's nothing, or is it everything? It's, oh my God, that's a lot. And the fentanyl epidemic, it's made everything even worse, because 75% of the 110,000 overdoses that happen in 2022, involved synthetic opioids like fentanyl. I'm just reading some facts here and I'm blown away. And, fentanyl, and I think we've all heard this, is usually found in counterfeit pills, so that, like I mentioned, they don't even know they're killing themselves. So here's the truth. I can't ignore it. And every one of my abusers got me higher and gave me alcohol. And look at P. Diddy. He's done the same thing. And look at what they're saying about, and I'm saying he's done that, but it's alleged. He's allegedly done these things. The people on the news have allegedly been, trafficking, drugging, raping, gang raping women and children. And I can't even put my thoughts into that. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But this has been going on for a very long time, and it's time it stops. So the shame around being sober, I'm about to kill it right now. You should have more shame hiding and that you're doing cocaine in the bathroom, in your car, or at work, or at home, than you would be about someone who stands up and say, I used to do this and I'm sober. Or that I'm sober from alcohol, but maybe I'm California sober. Or, those who know. My point being is that you have to find what works for you. And that's what I ended up doing through going through the dark night of the soul, through getting through my story. As alcohol became my best friend, it became my worst enemy. And I needed to face it so many times. I was exhausted. And sometimes I just wanted to give up. I got to tell you, like the last 2 years, I wanted to just throw in the towel. I was done trying. I didn't want to do this anymore. My heart was broken. No one was coming to rescue me. I'm 53. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I just was like, I can't do this, God. I can't do this like this anymore. And 11/15, I got sober last year again. I was white knuckling it, and I was trying my best to just wean off and just do this, because my life was just fucked up. Again, my life was dark, and I felt like I couldn't get out. And when I started to realize that I wasn't doing it the right way, that I knew I had the tools because I'd been taught that all I needed to do was access that toolbox, I did. So I reached in for something that I think I laughed at in my last episode because of the way I said it. But I know this prayer very, very well, by the way. And it's the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is profoundly moving and extremely, extremely powerful. And I began to recite it and recite it and recite it and recite it and recite it like a mantra in the middle of the night, because I can barely sleep. I wasn't sleeping any nights at all. And I was just saying it and just like drinking. And then I'd go into prayer, and I would have these drinks, not to drink and get drunk, because I wasn't getting drunk anymore. It was to sustain my detox and to try and wean off. And that's sick. But not only, and I'll spare you the gory details, I was very physically sick. I had just gotten mentally and emotionally and psychologically beat down that I drank again. And it had to do with, so many things that happened to me in October last year and in 22 and just the following year. And, add whatever story and input whatever you want. But it's been through all of this that I found my God voluntarily. And I voluntarily accepted the challenge of becoming this woman that I'd always dreamed of being, which was one of good nature, one that's soft and feminine, one that's forgiving and loving, but that one that has balls, a backbone, a sword for a tongue, and knows when to yield it, like Joan of Arc, if you will. Because I've always considered myself a powerful woman. So powerlessness to me was unthinkable. How dare I say that about myself? But when it came to drinking and putting that in my body, I had no control. It was done. I had to have another drink because my body demanded it. And that's what I mean by it's an allergy and a mental, well, I don't mean it. AA, the big book, means it. And just so you know, AA was discovered by Bill Wilson. And Bill Wilson, thank God for him. And actually, when he met Dr. Bob Smith, another struggling alcoholic, they developed the foundation for AA, basically. And to put it all basic, simple stuff in terms, they created the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous as well. And so I don't think we need years, but it all happened when in 1935, Bill Wilson had a spiritual awakening during a hospital stay where he had a vision of a white light, and his life was pretty much changed forever. Have I seen a white light? No. Have I had experiences with the Holy Spirit? Yes. Ones I can totally recite? Yes. I will bore you by speaking them now because there's so many. But one that happened to me was when I had basically in 2015, I had another wall. I hit another real dark night. And I was like, God, when is this going to stop? When is my life going to go back in order? And it was because I had so much stuff to uncover, unearth, and discard. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been, it hasn't been a cakewalk. And I'm sure it hasn't been for a lot of people. And, it's crazy because I'm not unique. I'm not a special butterfly or a snowflake. I'm nor are you, by the way, and nor is your addiction. You're unique by the way you recover and you bounce back from it. That's up to you. Because let me tell you something. All these things that happen to us isn't our story. It's what's happened to us. It's not who we are. It's not our identity. It's what's happened to us. It's the labels that we've taken on as we've gone on the road of highway called life, and we got off on bad exits, and then we got, oh shit, I got to get back on the highway with the bad, and then I took the wrong luggage. It's okay. I'll just take that luggage too. So then I'll have my luggage and someone else's luggage with me, and I'm still driving on the freeway trying to exit. And as I keep exiting, I realize I'm missing the real exit of life. So I go, where am I? And then I go, I got to stop, pull over, and ask God, who is my GPS. So alcoholism is widely seen as a moral failing. I didn't want to be part of that. I didn't want a disease. And, there were such few resources back when I was getting sober. I mean, I was 27, 28 when I got my first DUI. I've had 2 DUIs in my life, and my first in my late 20s and mid 30s. Thank God, not since then, nothing. Knocking on wood, and nor do I ever want to drink again, just for the record. But like I said, alcoholism is it's one of my biggest stories, if you will. And it's no longer something I want to hide to anyone or for anything or for any reason because I'm not ashamed of it anymore, nor should you be. I hope that you take this and reframe the way you look at alcoholism. I mean, if you're not an alcoholic, because it is a spiritual malady with a medical condition. And it isn't something we pretend, and it's not always on Skid Row. And it doesn't always look homeless. It looks like me, a beautiful, young, vibrant, midlife woman who struggled with this her whole life and used it as medicine because she had to get through life. And so that's what I did. And yeah, I just happened to have the gene in my family. And you know what? I kind of curse the fact that I've had the gene, but then what else would it have been if not that? I'd be dead. I wouldn't have survived those sexual assaults and or attempts or my mother's insanely mean behavior toward me. You know, we come into this world, they say, by choice. They say we choose our family. They say we choose our mom and dad. And I swear to you, I did not choose my mom. And if I choose my dad, well, that's a good one. But my dad, I would choose someone else because he needed to be more open and loving and available. I did not choose this. So I don't know. I'm not buying into that one. But I can choose me. And that's where I'm empowered. And that's where you're empowered. We cannot change the narrative of who we have as a family or how we got born into it or what the story that passed already passed. We can start right here, right now, rewriting it with our pen, holding it ourselves after we've done the work, which is dark night of the soul. And by the way, the dark night of the soul has its, like I mentioned, 4 stages. And the one stage being the awakening, being the hardest. It's the restlessness that sits inside you dissatisfied, that just confuses you and you makes you feel disconnected literally almost all the time. Or questioning yourself on what you are, what you want, and you get what you say you wanted, but then you're like, why am I not happy? And you start to question your beliefs because that's all we have before the dark night of the soul is beliefs. And when you come through the dark night of the soul, once you've gone through it, which by the way, no one knows, there's no time frame. You know things. You're no longer in belief mode. You know things. So the first part is the awakening, and the second part is the purification process, which is the releasing. I want to call it the purification process. I want to call it the dying off because I have now died. My old version, the old version of me has now died, and I'm becoming this new version of me. No one explained this to me. No one gave me a manual. I did not go and read up on this. I was told, read The Way of the Superior Man by a friend, my ex-boyfriend. And then he gave me some tidbits that I kind of was interested in. It always stuck with me when I said, what is the dark night of the soul? How can I be so spiritual and not know this? And a lot of times they say in monasteries, they keep it from the monks because they don't want them to know they're going to go through that so that they don't falsely impersonate that they're having it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm having this and it's by default because you know of it. Well, I didn't know and I'd been going through it. And I just thought I was crazy. I'm like, I'm insane. Maybe I am insane. Maybe I am bipolar because I could not understand why one moment I felt good and empowered. Next moment I'm drinking and I'm sad and I'm back in my bullshit and I don't understand why. And everyone's like in AA going, oh, it's because you're not sober. Well, no kidding. But how do I stay sober? How do I get sober and stay sober? Well, first off, you don't put yourself around people who do cocaine and drinking and this and that will influence the latter, right? Which is the bad behavior. But when you get to purification, which I've gone through, I can't go back to something like that. And yeah, it may be new and all, but I know it's different because I've been sober mostly my whole life since 16. And I know what it feels like to be sober again. And I know that I don't want to drink again. And I knew I said that before, but this is different. This hits different because of the way that I've gone through this. Again, I'm ready and I've already released the old version of me. Can she come back? Well, of course. No one tells you that either. But it is the most challenging and the hardest thing I've done in my entire life next to having a baby. Literally. It's not easy, but it's about healing and cleaning out the deep soul level bullshit that has challenged us all our lives. So it's necessary and it's most important that you don't numb through it. I'm not going to ask you to stay sober, but I'm going to suggest it. And when you do, you'll understand because that's stage 3, understanding. And the first clarity of peace and joy that comes from these understandings is made when you get to that other side. It's brighter, it's happier, and you have this deep knowing and this deep knowing of your deeper purpose. Hence my podcast. Hence why I'm using my voice. I have always known that I'm supposed to use my voice, that I'm supposed to be different, that I am made to stand out, that I have a message to carry, that I want to empower women and children and people. And I thought husband, and that will happen one day, but it's no longer the forefront of my mind. I'm no longer reliving the past day after day, moment after moment, hour after hour. Have you met that person who continually loops their whole lives and every time you see them, they're talking about it? That used to be me. I think I left that behind a long time ago, but I mean, it came back strong in certain areas of my life. And now I have to look at that. And I'm also cleaning up the part of my ancestral, generational curses that I've carried that are not mine, that I inherited from, a very abusive mother whom caused me to want to drink because it was the only way I could survive her. I didn't have a brother that was protecting me every time my mom yelled at me. I had 3 brothers, but none of them stepped up for me, not one. In fact, the oldest one tried to rape me when I was almost 12. Do you imagine being a 12-year-old and being woken up by your naked brother with half a heart on and you sitting there going, what the fuck is happening? Excuse my language, but that is what happened. And it's detrimental. Let that sit with you in your mind. Hold that. That's what I've had to see for the rest of my life. Not because I want to, because it's automatic. My brother's in my life for the next, 6 years, 7 years, and now forever, right? Because he's my brother. But is he my brother? Because a brother wouldn't do that to his sister. Someone who loves you doesn't try to hurt you that way or any way. How I know that is because I've never done that to someone I love, much less someone I don't love. So talk to me about why men commit these things, or why women, take babysitting jobs, and you know who you are if you're listening, and molest little boys. Yeah, I'm talking to you too. Because women aren't exempt from this. And I've not done those things because I have a good heart and I'm a good person. Not because I'm special. I don't get awards for being a good person, nor should you. So the understanding that you receive from going to the stage 3 of the dark night of the soul is pretty profound. And you start to ask yourself, like I've been asking you all to ask yourselves, what's your story? What do you want to look like? How do you want to be perceived in your world? And yes, there's going to be some unexplainable mystical experiences. I had them. Not everyone does. But for me, the presence of divine order and aspects were always present. I had signs from numbers to license plates to literal songs. I mean, I relate a lot to music. I'm clairvoyant and I'm also clairsentient and clairaudient. And I can feel things, see things, hear things, and also dream things. And that wasn't always clear to me. And when I did finally get clear on that, I got sort of steered in the direction away from what I thought I was doing was going toward. And that was God. But God showed me quickly through prayer and meditation and through my relapses that something was not right. Because here I am thinking I'm walking a spiritual path, reading tarot, helping other people in consultations, doing what I need to do, all that I think I need to do to stay on the path, which I think I'm on, but I'm doing absolutely everything the opposite that the Bible says I'm to do when it comes to what I thought was going toward God. I was putting deities, statues, evil eyes, playing with tarot, giving readings, acting like a god myself in so many ways and not thinking I was. And when the sign came to put down the drink and take all that away, I did it without hesitation. And Doreen Virtue, who is huge in the spiritual realm, if you don't know her, Google her, has completely stepped away from all things that she did. And by the way, she wasn't just throwing away, about 5,000 worth of tarot and all the stuff that I did, because I put a huge bonfire of things I hadn't even opened, you guys, and everything I'd been using, crystals, everything, books, everything I had on tarot. And I started to light, I lit a bonfire in the backyard. And I watched it burn for over 2 hours. It took about that long. I say this because it's important for people to understand that I know there's a lot of things and options that we can go alternatively, and I've done them. It's like when you want to get sober, you go, I'm going to go to a therapist and do yoga. I'm going to start working out. And it doesn't really work because you don't stay sober. It doesn't stick. Or people who do stay sober, but they're never better because they don't do the work. And they stay in, like, I'll give you an example. Someone gets into AA, they go and they call it the 13th step. They find someone, they get her, they get him, they get together, or they meet in rehab and they do their thing and they stay together. And unbeknownst to everyone, they're staying together and they make it. Holy shit. But they're codependent. Both of them are probably not going to Al-Anon and need to go, taking each other's inventory, probably reciting each other's inventory to their own sponsors and friends. And it's like, what kind of relationship is that? Is that whole? I mean, two sickies don't make a welly, is what my sponsor used to tell me. So you have to stop, take the time, take a trip, walk away, put everything off, at least for a little while, and hit start. That's it. And then face it. And when you face it, you're on your way and you're going to heal if you stay on course. If you don't, you'll have to come back and revisit that whole start again, which is what I did so many times and many people do. So the fourth stage of my dark night of the soul was union. I think it's what I'm doing right now, if anything, if I'm to be honest. It's truly the experience of a lifetime for me because I'm building a life that I always dreamed of and I'm super excited about it. Like I really am. I'm not just saying this to say it. I'm really excited to be on this platform. I think maybe 10 people will hear it, but who cares? Who cares? At this point, I'm seriously about educating and source. It's sort of like I'm not just having fun with it. I take responsibility over what I'm saying, but like these are things that if you know me, you know. And I want people in their lives, no matter what age you've gotten to understand it's not over. It's just the beginning. So what if you're 50? So what if you're in menopause? So what if he left you? So what if you're divorced? So many women on podcasts are like, oh yeah, this, and how to get him. I don't give a shit. Leave him behind. Let them go. I used to be that woman. I don't care. You don't want me? That's great. Bye. Because I swear to you, any one of those people that would walk up to me with the same things that they've offered before had better hold on because I will never go back to that. I'll never settle again. It's not in my nature. And that is why it was never congruent with me. That's why I'm here. So, as you know now, the 4 stages of the dark night of the soul, if I could even speak, they transcend your ego. You know, there's a moment, like I said, in part 2 of this transformation where you're like, ego death happens and you're like, well, what now what? And you literally sit there for a while. Guys, I was wondering when it was going to shift or change. And it got to a point where I was like, I will admit, I had a couple arguments with God and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, seriously, this is why I'm here? What the F? Why was I born? I'm 54. Like, I'm not married. I'm this. And I started totally giving God a lot of shit. I'm sorry, God. He knows that. But he knows that I was just like, oh, she's ready now. She's ready to go to the next step. Because I was so uncomfortable. I was ready to change. And I'm like, okay, give me a sign. Show me the way. Give me that thing. And then, I said, the stage 3 part of Dark Night of the Soul came in, and the understanding part wasn't just so easy breezy and all of that. The mystical experiences happened. I had to, challenge myself through the tarot, realizing that wasn't my path, that wasn't sobriety, that wasn't God. That was just taking me away from all of it. And then this stage was truly a stage of illumination of my struggles that accompanied me all my life, that were palpable, that were tangible for me because of the way that things were falling apart all around me and in it. Fill in the blank for yourselves. It's a push and pull, a push and pull. And you're probably like a lot of us need to go out and get therapy, get someone to help us through it to get to the other side. And understanding this push and pull is extremely, extremely personal. You're going to understand the old version of you versus the new version of oneself and you. It's in my experience that I was just 2 people pushing back and forth my whole life, my will and the inherited will. That's why I always felt like dark and light were in my life because I'm like, I would hear it, the insult, the deprivation of love, if you will, experiencing that my whole life and wanting it so badly. Thinking, well, why don't I love myself? I'd see in other people how come I can't get to that place? Why don't I respect myself enough to say no? Why don't I respect myself enough to say I'm not doing that and stand up and say and be different? And that's when I realized, oh, I've got to grieve my old version and bury her and say goodbye. Whether I like it or not, I had to. She can't be resuscitated. She has to be the done version of me because I was tired of seeing her face and she wasn't mine. I wasn't going to hold her hand anymore. I'm not going to weather her storms anymore. Her problems were too many. So I had to let her go. And I called time. When I got to the union phase, I was very, 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 very happy. I'm still happy. So I'm not going to go and conclude it there. But I want to go into something about my sobriety that had I not gone through the dark night of the soul, which is only conclusive to the fact that I understood God and that there was a purpose for me, a bigger purpose and a calling, and that AA woke me up to that when I was 16, and that ever since I was 16, I've been now fast forward at 54. And I'm like, oh, you love me and you want me to help other people. And I always knew that, but I had to actually help myself first. And let me tell you something, new levels, new devils. I learned that through tarot because I couldn't understand why I was getting so spiritually attacked. And by that, it can look in so many different ways. Like you get a job and all of a sudden, and this is an example, you get a job that you really wanted and you tell someone or a couple people and all of a sudden the job fades away. For me, in 23, early 23, I allocated and locked in a lease for a store, a new store. I used to own, clothing store. And I thought, I'll get one over here. So I found one by the beach, locked it in, negotiated the deal, was about to sign the lease, wouldn't get a call back from the landlord. I knew it in my gut. I'm like, oh no, this is not cool. This is not right. Something's not right. Something's not right. Sure enough, it wasn't right. And it is now an art gallery. But guess what I was going to do with that store, guys? It wasn't going to be a clothing store. It was going to be a botanica. And in Spanish, a botanica is where you go to get your cards read and you do what they call sorcery. So I was protected. Do you think I thought that? No. That was in February, late February of last year. So then what happens after that, guys? My hip, I went to work out at Equinox with my trainer, did a spin class, did a Tabata class. I fall. Next to me is a skeletal doctor, God shot. She puts ice on my knee because it popped in Tabata class with my trainer, who was leading the class. Then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, fuck. End of day, fast forward, I'm in total pain. Back, hips, everything's in pain. I can't walk. I'm looking at the ceiling, and by April 6th, I'm in a hospital. I had to call 911. Listen to my other ones, you guys. I have other actual episodes that will explain a lot of this. But for the most part, I've had my own share of battles and experiences to get to where I'm at right now. And it's not a linear experience. There is no one formula for all of us. But it's the only thing that got me to God, really get to God. I thought I started my path when I was 26 and I went to the SRF, which is the Self-Realization Fellowship in Palisades, California. And I thought that was it. Non-denominational, Christ was the center, which by the way, I still love. I love that everyone's welcome. And it taught me how to meditate. My son used to go there with me. I would put him in the meditation classes, and my best friend and I would do these ritualistic things there on New Year's Eves and, go into the new year meditating 2 hours. But none of it shifted my sobriety and getting sober or my experience as a woman and how I felt about myself in my journey, how I view love, how I view relationships and friendships and showing up. I couldn't even until recently understand why I'm always 10 or 15 minutes late. And it's not because I'm rude. It's fear. It's fear of commitment. What if I show up on time and I'm early for something and no one shows up, or I'm too early and I'm kept waiting, and that's ego. So I have this way of always being just enough late so you can forgive me, but not early enough to be on time. So I've had to look at that. True story. And I'm working on that. So not everyone will experience the 4 stages, nor will they have, my experiences, obviously. Maybe you can relate to them. They'll all arrive in different order. So just be patient with yourself. The timeline isn't on a schedule. It's a divine and personal timeline. And with that, my spirituality stemmed into my celibacy. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Celibacy is a thing. Doesn't matter if you're 16 or you're 60. It doesn't. I don't care what you have to say about it. It sounds strange. I know. Oh my God, what is she talking about? She's 54 and she's celibate? Yes, I'm celibate. So yeah, the celibate part is also just as real for me as the sober part, as much as it is the God part, because it's all related. It all translate to the same for me, hand in hand, at least at this point, not before. And it's wild to look back on now, because it's like the people who hurt me, whether it was abuse or betrayal or worse, the SA attempt, were also the ones handing me the drink, passing me the pill or the joint. And not every time, but enough that it's clear that it was part of the trap to keep me down and oppressed. And also to get me to do whatever they wanted me to do, which usually led to intimacy. And I won't say more on that, but, taking away my innocence little by little, if not, eventually. I hate to talk about it, but it has to be spoken about. And with that, I want to say that, taking care of your health, reclaiming your power, it's huge. It's celibacy today is not something that I think most people, you'll hear them even say or speak about. They'll think it's boring. They're going to go, oh gosh, what is that? Isn't that what nuns do? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I literally have spoken it and people don't even pick up that I've said the word. They're like, what? I go, I said I'm celibate. It's different than abstinence. In my way, it's not that I'm waiting for the one and then I'll do it. It's like I'm waiting to be married and to have a ring on my finger. That's the bottom line. I'm okay with it. Do I think that way now because I'm single? Yeah. Will I think that way when I'm not? I don't know. But for right now, this is how I feel. I feel like this is part of my journey. And so getting into the celibacy, it's not boring. And no, it's not shameful. It's actually powerful. It's my superpower. Who knew? And it's one of my favorite things to have, to reclaim, is my sacred temple, my body, my yoni, my kundalini power. General Emiliano Zapata said it so well, and that I literally want to tattoo this on my body. I won't, but I want to. And I live by this, guys. And if you know me, you know. I'll say that again. It is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. And I've been living on my knees far too long before I could stand up, before someone else came along and tried to push me down. So I'm here to tell you, I will not live on my knees and I will not be knocked down, not even pushed. I'm standing tall in my resolute awareness, knowing who I am, where I've been, how I've gotten here, where I've come from. And my celibacy for me isn't about sex. Yeah, it involves that. It's standing tall in my power. It's about reclaiming my body and saying, no, you are not allowed and you shouldn't have. It's reclaiming my energy, my sacred energy, and my spirit. So to me, I wear celibacy like it's a badge. Not to prove anything to you or to the world or to act like I'm superior. It's a personal commitment to my healing and to my alignment as a woman at 54. And this started 2 years ago when I started my real ego death. There had been baby ones before that I thought were major, and maybe they were, and I'm downplaying it now because none of them are small. Everything happens for a reason, and every single thing does not happen by mistake. But sometimes we make things happen that are not mistakes because they're to teach us a lesson. It's there because we have to choose. It's called discernment. It's called having power of willpower. No, the power of choice. God gives us that. He allows us to have free will. And I and so many have used it for pleasure, for lust, for instant gratification, for the moment, not caring who it hurt or what it did, even though I thought I did. So how many of you are living in that space of ego? Or how many of you need to do inventory again because you're sober so long you haven't and you feel superior to everyone else that you think your time is a badge or a trophy? Hey, I'm happy for you, but are you a good person? Because if you and I had an experience and you're 20 some years sober and you haven't picked up the phone to check on me or to say, I'm sorry for my part, then you're not living in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You're living in your ego and yourself. So one thing I always took literally, regardless of whether I was sober or not, is to apply the 12 steps in my life. And no, I didn't do it perfectly. No, I didn't do it all the time, but mostly I would try to go backward. And that's also trauma-based, is going back and saying, I'm sorry. I would like to say I'd like to make an amends for what I did and how I behaved. And right now on this platform, I'd love to say that to so many people that I know that I probably never get a chance to, because I did things I would normally never do, like date a guy that had a girlfriend. I would never do that today. And I've done that. So from the bottom of my heart to yours, please forgive me. I am truly sorry. And that is the Ho'oponopono. I always say it wrong. Ho'oponopono prayer. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Or is it I love you, I thank you? I always mess it up. But that's the 4 lines. And those 4 lines are the ones that got me to be sober again. All I did was speak them in a mantra. And then after that, somehow, some way, they showed up into my life and I got sober and I went to a meeting that same morning on Zoom. And I've been sober ever since. Now, I say that to you because a lot of people I know right now have just relapsed and are struggling. And you're my people. You're my tribe. I love you. I know you can get back up. I know you're listening. And I know you can do this because you need to forgive yourself for falling. It's not your fault. None of us are born into perfect families and perfect situations. In fact, many of us aren't at all. But we have free will to choose sometimes and sometimes not. But sometimes we do. And if we do, then we should, because it is something powerful. It is probably the one thing that you can give yourself that if you don't, no one else will. And that's where that truth sort of hits home, that no one's coming here to save you. No one's here to do it for you. No one's going to do the work for you. And if they do, God, run. No one should want to be that codependent to have to know everything and fix you and do things for you. My God, I would lose my mind. So, to make it right, I used to say this, and now I will actually, how would I put that? I didn't used to say it. I was saying it a lot, like every day, all day. And then I sort of, stopped. And I realize now as I'm writing and speaking with you, or I realized when I was writing, you know, oh God, here I go again. The Ho'oponopono meaning isn't just a one-time shot. It's something I need to do and say all the time. And that's part of the 12 steps. So it's an ancient Hawaiian practice, and it just focuses on reconciliation and forgiveness that you need to practice. It's a process of resolving the conflicts, restoring the balance in relationships, and it works. It involves the confession and the repentance and the mutual forgiveness. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but all you have to do is your part, take the first step. And yeah, it's essentially the way that we mend the broken bonds between us and to recreate the harmony. But this time I'm saying it because it's for me. I'm forgiving myself. I'm asking me to say I'm sorry to me, that I love me. I would stand in the mirror and say it to me. I know I just jumped out of the whole celibacy topic, but I'm not trying to, because it's not something that I think is a light topic. In today's date, we have so many young people just giving themselves away like I did at my tender years, and didn't know I was doing it and thought I was doing it because that was the cool thing to do or what should be done. But not today. We live in a world where virginity and celibacy are mocked, and our youth are pressured constantly. Look at the OnlyFans and the TikTok and hypersexualization everywhere, even with women my age. It just dumbfounds me. It's like, be sexy, okay, but really? Do we really have to throw ourselves out there to garner that response? You need that much attention? I don't know. Less is not more in this day and age. More is less. And that's the mentality that needs to flip. And I think that when women realize that they can be themselves without having to do all that extra stuff, then I think things will start to change and the youth will start to follow. But here's the real deal. 1 in 5 women in the US experience sexual assault. 1 in 5. And sexual violence against girls aged 12 to 17 has spiked by over 30% in the last decade. Do you have a daughter or a sister or a young girl friend? It's not just a culture, it's a crisis. And did you know that most women or children or girls, people, I'll just generalize it, get raped by people they know? Listen, I'm not here to harp on you being a sober virgin, but I'm here to tell you that when you step away from needing to actually engage with other people on an intimate level before actually having a commitment and a commitment that you define. For me, it will be marriage. For others, it will be a solid partner, and then they can and will. But in God's eyes, you have to be married. So I want to do my best to try and honor that this time. I didn't get to the first time because it was taken from me, and so many times after that. And with that, I just want to tell everyone that, like I said before, for me, the celibacy is standing in my power and reclaiming my sacred space within me, healing those parts of me that I couldn't heal before, experiencing what I had and not knowing what I was doing when I was doing either whether I was drunk or not, or when I was just giving myself away. Um, I just had to forgive myself. So these are the ways that I've gotten to where I'm at this moment. And I even suggest this, and you can wear this at 16 or 20 or 30 or 35, whenever you make this commitment to yourself as a symbol of your sovereignty and your self-respect and self-love, if you make this commitment, is to get yourself a celibacy ring. It isn't about saying no to pleasure. It's not about that, guys. It's about saying yes to protection, to peace, to your purpose, and to your sacredness, and standing in that. And wow, just wow, watch how your light will brighten up any path. Okay, I think I've lectured enough. 11:11 on the clock. And I want to thank you all for listening to me, because as I wrap today's episode, I reflect back, and it's, if you notice my voice isn't as intense or as fun as usual, it's because these are deep and really heavy topics for me. They're very deeply personal. I've shared stuff that I'd never spoken about before on any platform, much less to someone else, unless you were my absolute best friend, which in this moment I don't have, because I let that go too. And I'll mention that in another platform. As a woman in my 50s, I'm sober. I finally have a relationship with God. I have a celibacy I'm proud of, and that I do wear as a badge of honor to whom I am today because of the work I've done to get here. I am the woman that God has always asked me to be, and I'm becoming her more and more every single day. I hope you'll join me and you take my hand, hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment, engage with me. Please let me know what you want to hear. Tell me what you don't want to hear. Be nice. I do block people, and I will tell you, F off. Well, not like that, but you know what I'm saying. And that is that. So, as usual, I close with some health, and I want to leave you with something. But before I leave you with that, I want to leave you with something that I really, really, really love. And although it's a little long, I'm going to do it anyway. And hopefully it'll resonate. It's On Love by Khalil Gibran. It's one of my favorite poems. And I think love is the theme here, because if you love yourself, you say, I'm going to help you and I'm going to get you sober. And then you say, I'm going to get you through this and we're going to get help and go through the dark night of the soul. And then you say, I'm going to honor you by all the things I've mentioned. You know what I mean? You can fill in the gaps. I don't want to fill it in for you. I want you to know that if you don't stay sober, God still loves you. I still love you. But I hope you get sober. And if you don't get celibate, or you do get celibate and that's not your jam, that's fine too. This is my experience. I hope my strength my hope and my experience helps someone. If just one person, then God, I made a great episode today, and I'm happy about that. And my longest. So there we are. Help is available, and your story is far from over. And I'm going to read you this poem because it's a beautiful poem. And it's one in which, like I mentioned earlier, that really, really moved me. In fact, you know what? Instead of reading the whole poem, I'm just going to read you a part of it because it'll be too long. It's about love. And again, Khalil Gibran. When love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them. And with that, my loves, have and keep your faith or restore it. Find your love, your you love. Heal your trauma and let it all happen unfoldingly, collidingly, messy, and just get through it and surrender. The process of healing in the depths of God's love and power is undeniable. I'm here as a testament, and I haven't even shared 1/10 of my story. And I know it's going to hit you one day when you finally look in the mirror and say, things have to change. Let it be today. Because if anything, you know that you're worth it. And if anyone is struggling with addiction or any of the subjects that I actually talked about, there is going to be a list of hotline numbers. Please look for them. I will leave you 1 or 2 or 3 here. And just so you know, human trafficking, the phone number, if you've experienced that or know of someone or want to say something, please call 1-888-373-7888 or text HELP to 233-733. That's again, text HELP to 233-733. Domestic violence is 1-800-799-SAFE. And sexual assault and abuse is 1-800-656-HOPE. Now, I really hope this helps someone. I hope that you all go out and start doing what you're supposed to do and enjoy yourselves, live your lives, and find your happy. Because why? Because you're worth it, my loves. I'll talk to you soon. See you next week. Bye.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Heart to Hearts with Erika M. If today hit a nerve, stirred a truth, or sparked a comeback, make sure to subscribe, share, and come back next Sunday when Erika talks about whatever she wants. Midlife isn't the end. It's where the story gets good and the middle gets rewritten. Your way.